Greetings, everyone. It is a little bit cooler morning today here in southeast Georgia. Hopefully, it's going to be the trend that we get as we get into these nice fall months here in a little bit. Definitely watch out, though, for thunderstorms that should be rolling up this afternoon, and then the wakes as we are really just balls deep into hurricane season right now. We've got Aaron coming up the coast, which is going to make being in ocean water a lot more dangerous, so be careful out there. And then there's another system that's developing right behind it, but probably will follow similar path to Aaron. But let's get into the news.
They work hard, pay their taxes, and are treated badly. She and others do support cracking down on criminals. The White House says some arrested immigrants here illegally have been charged with kidnapping, assault, and burglary. But legal rights groups say some with legal status are also being arrested for minor infractions through traffic checkpoints and roving patrols. Jennifer Lutton, NPR News, Washington. You're listening to NPR News. Forecasters say Hurricane Aaron is slowly pulling away from the East Coast. It is not a landfall, but tropical storm warnings extend from North Carolina's Outer Banks to southern Virginia. Officials are urging people to stay out of the ocean because of life-threatening rip currents. These warnings reach as far north as New England.
God dang.
Local voting officials are leaving their jobs at the highest rate recorded in at least 25 years. NPR's Miles Parks reports the new data show the effect President Trump's falsehoods about voting have had on the profession.
Roughly 40% of the voting officials who oversaw the 2020 election left their jobs before the 2024 cycle. That's according to new research from the Bipartisan Policy Center. Rachel Ori, who leads the center's elections project, says an increase in pressure and harassment have amplified turnover trends that were already happening in the field.
Rising turnover is almost like a canary in a coal mine, indicating that something deeper and more structural in the way that we conduct elections needs to be fixed.
Election officials say this year has been a little quieter when it comes to election denial after Trump's win in 2024, but they expect pressure to pick back up next year ahead of the midterms.
Yep.
Miles Parks, NPR News, Washington.
I mean, they've entirely discredited these people, discredited the entire system that's supposed to be part of democracy, and they've been feeding this for years. Really, it was 2020 where it blew up to the main stage. But there's always been accusations of stuffing ballot boxes and the voting machines not being good, and it just completely discredits, or they're trying to completely discredit the system to sow animosity towards poll workers who are doing a very important job here in our country, and to sow disinterest in democracy as a whole. So as they try to do more and more fascistic policies, people are willing to jump on them. So it's gross. So I think poll workers do a very important job. They do a hard job, especially nowadays, and they deserve respect, and they deserve a good wage for what they do.
Coming up on the program, NPR's legal model speaks with Ukrainian Veronica Osin-Senov about her remarkable survival, the deadliest attack on Kyiv since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion. That emotional conversation is coming up in about 15 minutes on Morning Edition on GPB.
Parents and teachers, are you looking for a fun, completely free way to support early learning with something kids will love and you will trust? Welcome to Gasha Go World, an award-winning interactive suite of math, computer science, and literacy games designed for children in grades K through 2. Gasha Go World features animated videos, engaging games, and support materials, ad-free and no login required. Explore it all at gpb.org/GashaGo. This is Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Leila Fontaine.
And I'm Michelle Martin. Good morning. It's been 36 years since the murders of Jose and Kitty Menendez. Today, a California parole board will begin 2 days of hearings to determine whether their sons who carried out the killings, Eric and Lyle Menendez, should be set free. See Futterman reports from San Diego, where the brothers are incarcerated.
The frantic 911 call in August 1989 is still chilling to hear. When they went on trial, the brothers admitted they killed their parents, but said it was in self-defense.
Jesus.
The two were eventually found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Earlier this year, a judge resentenced them to 50 years to life. Under California law, they're now eligible for parole. Today, Eric Menendez will have his hearing. Tomorrow, it will be Lyle Menendez. One of those expected to appear before the board is first cousin Anna Maria Baralt. She supports their release.
We will not stop fighting for Eric and Lyle, for justice, and for the truth.
The most emotional testimony is likely to come from the brothers themselves. While claims of abuse may come up, Loyola Law School professor Lori Levinson says it will likely not be the key factor.
What the parole board has to decide is whether they are suitable, safe for release.
The board will also hear from the LA County District Attorney's Office. The current DA, Nathan Hockman, does not believe the brothers should be set free.
The Menendez brothers engaged in a deliberate, premeditated killing of their parents.
A decision by the parole board is expected at the end of each day, but even if the board recommends release, it will still be up to California Governor Gavin Newsom, who has the right to veto any recommendation to set them free.
That's true.
For NPR News, I'm Steve Futterman in San Diego.
For months, the Trump administration has been pressuring some states and cities led by Democrats to change their immigration policies. These are places that have adopted so-called sanctuary laws, which bar the use of local resources to support federal agents with immigration enforcement. The Justice Department says these policies were in counter to the president's immigration crackdown, and that legal action could be next. NPR political reporter Elena Moore is here to give us an update on this. Good morning, Elena.
Morning, Michelle.
So it sounds like there's been an escalation between the Justice Department and these blue cities and states. What's happening here?
Well, this all connects back to an executive order Trump signed in April, which asks federal agencies to identify jurisdictions that they say obstruct the enforcement of federal immigration laws. It also threatens possible federal funding cuts if changes aren't made. Fast forward to the beginning of the month, the DOJ released a list of 13 states and 18 cities, all run by Democrats, saying they're standing in the way of immigration enforcement. Since then, Attorney General Pam Bondi has really put these places on notice.
You better be abiding by our federal policies and with our federal law enforcement, because if you aren't, we're going to come after you.
So how have state and local leaders responded to this?
Well, we started to see some pretty forceful pushback this week from a handful of state and local leaders who disputed the sanctuary city label and defended their own policies, saying the administration's actions were unjust. One of the strongest rebukes, Michelle, came from Boston's Mayor Michelle Wu during a press conference on Tuesday.
Unlike the Trump administration, Boston follows the law, and Boston will not back down from who we are and what we stand for.
And this came after the DOJ sent letters to Wu and other leaders demanding they change their policies, giving a deadline of Tuesday. And while we're still waiting to see how all 30 jurisdictions on that list respond, we do know that some state leaders, like Washington's Governor Bob Ferguson, have vowed to defend their policies in court if needed.
In the American that I love, and taught my children to revere, we resolve our differences peacefully through public discourse, and if necessary, through the courts.
So now the administration and some of these leaders are
At least there's some type of fight back out the states, since our federal representatives are
Yeah,
useless.
well, pretty soon after Trump's return to office, his administration started taking legal action, and one of the first cases we saw was a lawsuit against Chicago, but the judge in that state threw out the suit, saying the government didn't demonstrate any violation of federal law. But that's not the only case in the works. The DOJ is also suing New York City and Los Angeles using similar arguments, and on the other end, there are several dozen cities and counties across the country that have also signed on to a lawsuit challenging the administration's efforts to withhold federal funding over this issue.
And the administration doesn't think people understand or making this part of a broader law and order message. You want to talk more about that?
Yeah, well, immigration, as we know, was a central issue in Trump's campaign, and he promised to carry out massive mass deportations if elected. So this effort by the DOJ is certainly one element.
And the only reason why they were able to is
But
because
more broadly,
the
Trump has made issues like
Biden administration failed to actually address immigration with any real effectiveness.
With liberal cities. Just last week, we saw that in Washington, D.C., where we are right now, when Trump deployed National Guard troops to the city and declared a safety crisis, all while signaling, Michelle, that other cities could be next.
That is NPR political reporter Elena Moore. Elena, thank you.
Thank you.
So I don't know. It's annoying that the people who, and by the people I mean the people with power, not everyday Americans, everyday working class people, they unfortunately just eat up the propaganda. But the people in power, and the people with power, both corporate power and political power, they benefit from illegal immigration. They benefit from the causes of it, and they benefit from the results of it, right? So, I mean, it's been our government, and it's been major corporations that have gone into these less developed countries and just destabilize things to make it as economically and militarily advantageous for them as possible. I mean, the banana republics of the late 1800s, early 1900s is the perfect example of that. U.S. Corporations, and specifically like agriculture corporations, came in and just wreaked havoc and basically introduced a new form of slavery into these countries, backed by American Marines and backed by militia groups who got money from American forces, right? And it benefited politicians and it benefited corporations' money, right? And it destabilized these countries, and it made people from these countries want to find a better life, so they went to the country that was doing more well off, which is America. And we've seen this time and time again. It's not just the banana republics, or the banana republicanization of those countries, but austerity measures thrown onto these countries in the 80s and 90s during the height of neoliberalism, and the coups and dictatorships that were installed by the CIA from the 40s till the 90s, right? Just ruining everyday people's lives and making them want a better life. So they come here, and then when they do come here, they don't have a legal path to citizenship, right? They don't have a legal path or they don't have a reasonable path to getting a permanent way of living here safely. And corporations like Purdue, the poultry processing company, if you remember Purdue, the guy who ran for senator, who held high office here in Georgia, his company directly benefits from illegal immigrants being here, right? Because they can hire them under the table and pay them way less than they actually do, than they actually pay or would have to pay normal people. And I mean normal by citizens. They're still human beings like you and I, still normal people, right? But people with status, people with citizenship, they can pay them way less than them. They can harass them as much as they want. They can overwork them as much as they want. And if those workers, those illegal immigrant workers, those undocumented workers, throw a fuss, there's nothing that, or sorry, they have an issue, right? Because they're being taken advantage of, being exploited. Who are they going to go to? The police? No, the police are going to give them to ICE. They're going to give them to Customs Border Patrol and kick them out of this country and send them into a worse off condition. And if they complain to their employers about the conditions that they're working in being horrible and that they're getting overworked and underpaid, well, guess what? Those employers can just call ICE, and ICE just does a quick raid and will arrest and deport those people who were causing problems, right? So the people in corporate power, and the politicians who benefit from the donations and the political backing of those giant corporations like Purdue, they actually do want illegal immigration, and they want to have an underclass, a new form of slavery, essentially, so they can so they can exploit and make as much money off of people as possible, and have a disposable source of labor, right? That they can get rid of when they get too troublesome or they need to downsize, and they can recoup easily from the same communities who are desperate for work and desperate for a better life. So it's pretty gross. It's pretty gross, right? And the people at the top, they know it. But they use this disgusting propaganda of othering these people who are just normal people, and they want to become normal Americans who want to put food on the table, have a safe roof over their head, and provide their children a better future, just like all of us Americans want to do. We want to work, we want to earn a fair wage and a good wage so we can feed our kids, put a roof over our own kids' head, and give them a brighter future than our own. It's just what people want. And the propaganda tries to other them, to make them seem horrible or criminals or going to steal our jobs and depress our wages. But the only way that they're stealing our jobs and depressing our wages is by keeping them in an undocumented status. It's by keeping them in this hyper exploitative underclass, this caste, right, of subordination, and to be subordinate to morally unjust and morally corrupt managers and CEOs, right? So, really to just end off, you have a lot more common with the undocumented man from Guatemala working, in the kitchen of a Sonic drive-in or in the factory of a chicken butchering factory, essentially, right? I think I just repeated myself with that. Than you do with the just total assholes and pieces of shit who exploit these people, who pay them under the table, who then tell you that your life is shit because of an undocumented person and not because of the corporate oligarchs who've created the system and taken advantage of every American. Taking advantage of every American through these means. They are the problem. Ultimately, like a lot of things in America, the problem isn't the subjugated. The problem isn't the people who are, grasping at straws to make their lives better and to give their children a better life. It's the people at the top who want to do everything they can to squeeze every last penny out of your pocket, whether that's through the time that you work or the products you have to pay for just to survive. So we'll keep it there for this lovely Thursday morning. As I said, to be safe out there in the rain. Try and stay off the water if you can. I know it's fun to catch a red drum, but probably not a good time to do some open sea kayaking. The estuaries are probably fine though. But I'll catch y'all later.